Would you believe me if I told you that one mother's mistake almost cost her daughter her life? Chloe pointed to the center of her chest, her expression a mixture of confusion and discomfort. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Right here, Mommy, she whispered, her small fingers resting on her sternum. Elena felt a wave of panic rise inside her, but she forced herself to stay calm. She gently placed her hand on Chloe's chest, feeling for any unusual movements or rapid heartbeats. Okay, honey, Elena said softly. We're going to take some deep breaths together. She guided Chloe through slow, calming breaths, but the tension didn't leave her daughter's face. Elena's mind raced, running through a checklist of possibilities. Was it something serious? Could it be just a muscle strain, or maybe indigestion from the popcorn? But her instincts told her this wasn't something to brush off. Does it hurt when you breathe, Chloe? Or when you move? Elena asked, trying to piece together what was happening. Chloe shook her head, her eyes now wide with worry. I don't know, Mommy. It just feels tight. That was enough. Elena grabbed her phone, her heart thudding in her chest as she called their doctor. Chloe placed her tiny hand over her heart, her bottom lip quivering slightly. Right here. It feels funny. Elena gently lifted Chloe's shirt, examining her chest for any signs of injury or rash. The skin was smooth and unblemished, showing no visible cause for concern. Yet the worry in Chloe's eyes made Elena's stomach churn with anxiety. Does it hurt when I touch it? Elena asked, her fingers lightly probing the area. Chloe shook her head. No, it just feels different, like something's pushing from the inside. Elena forced a smile, trying to mask her growing unease. It's probably nothing, sweetheart. Maybe you just bumped yourself earlier and didn't notice. How about we finish the movie and see how you feel in the morning? Chloe nodded, seemingly reassured by her mother's calm demeanor. But as they settled back into watching, Elena found it impossible to focus on the colorful characters dancing across the screen. Her mind raced with possibilities, each more worrying than the last. That night, after tucking Chloe into bed, Elena sat at the kitchen table, her laptop open before her. The soft blue glow illuminated her tired face as she scrolled through medical websites, searching for any explanation for Chloe's discomfort. Hours ticked by, and with each passing minute, Elena's anxiety grew. The next morning, Chloe seemed her usual cheerful self, the complaint about chest pain apparently forgotten. Elena breathed a sigh of relief, convincing herself that it had indeed been nothing more than a fleeting discomfort. Life resumed its normal rhythm, filled with school runs, play dates, and bedtime stories. But as the days turned into weeks, Elena noticed subtle changes in her daughter. Chloe's energy levels seemed to dip, her usual exuberance dimming like a fading star. She began to shy away from her favorite activities, preferring to curl up with a book rather than chase her friends around the playground. One afternoon, as Elena helped Chloe change for her swimming lesson, she noticed something that made her blood run cold. Chloe's chest appeared slightly swollen, the skin taut and tender-looking. Elena's mind reeled, struggling to process what she was seeing. Chloe, honey, does your chest still hurt? She asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Chloe nodded, her eyes downcast. Sometimes, but I didn't want to worry you, Mommy. Elena's heart shattered at her daughter's words. She pulled Chloe into a tight embrace, feeling the small body tremble against her. Oh, sweetheart, you should always tell me when something's wrong. That's what I'm here for. That evening, Elena made an appointment with Dr. Alvarez, their family pediatrician. The days leading up to the visit were a blur of worry and sleepless nights. Elena found herself constantly checking on Chloe, watching her daughter's every move for signs of discomfort or distress. Dr. Alvarez's office was a familiar space, its walls adorned with colorful posters of smiling children and friendly animals. But today, it felt oppressive, the cheerful decor a stark contrast to the knot of fear in Elena's stomach. The doctor examined Chloe thoroughly, her experienced hands gentle as she palpated the girl's chest. Elena watched, her heart pounding, as Dr. Alvarez's brow furrowed in concentration. "Well," the doctor said finally, turning to Elena with a reassuring smile, "it appears Chloe might be experiencing precocious puberty. It's uncommon at her age, but not unheard of." Elena's mind struggled to grasp the concept. Puberty. But she's only 8. Dr. Alvarez nodded sympathetically. "I know it's surprising, but sometimes these changes can start earlier in some children. We'll need to run some tests to confirm, but I don't want you to worry. It's not dangerous, just unexpected." As they left the office, Elena's mind whirled with questions and concerns. Chloe, sensing her mother's distress, slipped her small hand into Elena's, giving it a comforting squeeze. The gesture nearly broke Elena's heart. Here was her little girl, facing something so grown up, yet still trying to be strong for her mother. The following weeks were a whirlwind of blood tests, scans, and consultations. Each appointment seemed to bring more questions than answers, leaving Elena feeling increasingly helpless. She watched as Chloe withdrew further into herself, shying away from her friends and avoiding situations where her changing body might be noticed. One evening, as Elena was preparing dinner, she overheard Chloe on the phone with her best friend, declining an invitation to a sleepover. "I just don't feel like it," Chloe said, her voice small and defeated. The sound of it tore at Elena's heart. That night, after Chloe had gone to bed, Elena sat at the kitchen table, surrounded by medical reports and pamphlets on precocious puberty. She felt overwhelmed, drowning in a sea of medical jargon and conflicting advice. As she reached for yet another leaflet, her elbow knocked over a small basket on the counter, sending its contents scattering across the floor. Sighing, Elena knelt to gather the fallen items, a mix of Chloe's daily vitamins and her own medications. As she picked up a small orange bottle, something caught her eye. The label on Chloe's vitamin bottle was identical to the one on her estrogen supplements. A chill ran down Elena's spine as a horrifying realization dawned on her. With trembling hands, she opened both bottles, comparing their contents. The pills were indistinguishable. "No," she whispered, her voice breaking. "No, no, no." The truth hit her like a physical blow. For weeks, possibly months, she had been giving Chloe her estrogen pills instead of vitamins. The swollen chest, the mood swings, the fatigue, it all made terrible sense now. Elena's legs gave way, and she sank to the floor, surrounded by the scattered pills. Tears streamed down her face as the full weight of her mistake crashed over her. How could she have been so careless? How could she have failed to protect her daughter in such a fundamental way? The sound of small feet padding down the hallway snapped Elena back to the present. She hurriedly wiped her tears and gathered the pills, shoving them back into the basket just as Chloe appeared in the doorway, rubbing her eyes sleepily. "Mommy, are you okay?" Chloe asked, her voice thick with concern. Elena forced a smile, opening her arms to her daughter. "I'm fine, sweetheart. Just dropped something. What are you doing up?" Chloe snuggled into her mother's embrace. "I had a bad dream. Can I sleep with you tonight?" "Of course, my love," Elena murmured, stroking Chloe's hair. As she held her daughter close, she made a silent vow. She would fix this. She had to. The next morning, Elena called Dr. Alvarez's office as soon as it opened, her voice trembling as she explained the situation. The doctor's calm professionalism was a lifeline in the storm of Elena's panic. "Bring Chloe in immediately," Dr. Alvarez instructed. "We'll run some tests and determine the best course of action." The drive to the hospital was tense, with Chloe picking up on her mother's anxiety despite Elena's attempts to appear calm. As they walked through the stark white corridors, Elena felt as though she was marching to her own execution. The weight of her guilt threatened to crush her with each step. The next few hours were a blur of blood draws, scans, and hushed conversations with doctors. Chloe, brave as ever, endured each test without complaint, but Elena could see the fear in her daughter's eyes. Finally, Dr. Alvarez called them into her office. The doctor's face was grave as she explained the situation. "The good news is that we caught this relatively early. The estrogen hasn't caused any permanent damage, but we'll need to monitor Chloe closely for the next few months as her body adjusts. Elena nodded numbly, barely hearing the doctor's words over the roaring in her ears. All she could focus on was Chloe, sitting small and vulnerable in the oversized chair beside her. As they left the hospital, armed with a treatment plan and follow-up appointments, Elena felt a strange mix of relief and crushing guilt. They had a path forward, but the knowledge that she had caused this situation in the first place was almost unbearable. The following weeks were a roller coaster of emotions. Chloe's body slowly began to return to normal, the swelling in her chest subsiding, her mood swings evening out, but the emotional scars ran deep for both mother and daughter. Elena threw herself into researching everything she could about hormone imbalances in children, determined to become an expert in Chloe's care. She reorganized their entire home, implementing a strict system for medication storage and administration. Every pill bottle was meticulously labeled, every dose double and triple checked. But despite her best efforts, Elena couldn't shake the gnawing guilt that ate away at her. She found herself hovering over Chloe, scrutinizing every change in mood or energy level. Her nights were plagued by nightmares of hospitals and accusing eyes. Chloe, for her part, seemed to bounce back with the resilience of youth. As her body returned to normal, she gradually regained her confidence, rejoining her friends in their games and activities. But Elena noticed a new wariness in her daughter's eyes, a hesitation before taking any medication, even a simple vitamin. One evening, as Elena was tucking Chloe into bed, the little girl looked up at her with serious eyes. "Mommy, are you still sad about the medicine mix-up?" Elena froze, caught off guard by the direct question. She considered deflecting, but the earnest concern in Chloe's face made her pause. Taking a deep breath, she sat on the edge of the bed. "Yes, sweetheart, I am," she admitted. "I made a big mistake, and it hurt you. That's hard for me to forgive myself for." Chloe was quiet for a moment, her small brow furrowed in thought. Then, to Elena's surprise, she sat up and wrapped her arms around her mother's neck. "I forgive you, Mommy," she whispered. "It was an accident, and look, I'm all better now." Elena felt tears well up in her eyes as she returned her daughter's embrace. The simple, unconditional forgiveness of a child was more powerful than any reassurance from doctors or friends. In that moment, she felt a glimmer of hope that perhaps, one day, she might be able to forgive herself too. As the months passed, life slowly returned to a new normal. Elena remained vigilant, but she made a conscious effort to loosen her grip on control, to allow Chloe the freedom to be a child again. They worked together to rebuild trust, with Elena involving Chloe in her own healthcare decisions in age-appropriate ways. The experience had changed them both. Elena found herself more patient, more present in each moment with her daughter. She had learned the hard way that life could change in an instant, and she was determined not to take a single day for granted. Chloe, too, had grown from the experience. She developed a keen interest in biology and medicine, peppering her pediatrician with questions at each checkup. Her empathy for others seemed to have deepened, and she often went out of her way to comfort friends who were sick or hurt. 1 year to the day after the discovery of the medication mix-up, Elena and Chloe sat together on their favorite park bench, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink. Chloe leaned against her mother's side, her curls tickling Elena's cheek. "Mom," Chloe said suddenly, her voice thoughtful, "remember when you used to say that making mistakes is how we learn and grow?" Elena nodded, her throat tight with emotion. "I do, sweetheart." Chloe tilted her head up, meeting her mother's gaze. "I think we both learned a lot from the big mistake, didn't we? And we grew stronger together." Elena felt her heart swell with love and pride for her wise, compassionate daughter. She pulled Chloe close, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. "We certainly did, my love. We certainly did." As they sat there, bathed in the warm glow of the setting sun, Elena felt a sense of peace wash over her. The guilt and fear that had haunted her for so long began to fade, replaced by a deep gratitude for the resilience of the human spirit and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her child. She knew there would be more challenges ahead. Parenting was a journey filled with unexpected twists and turns, but Elena felt ready to face whatever came their way. She and Chloe had weathered a storm together and come out stronger on the other side. As the last rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon, Elena made a silent promise to herself and to Chloe. She would continue to strive to be the best mother she could be, not by being perfect, but by being present, by listening, by learning, and by loving unconditionally. The park began to empty as twilight settled in, but Elena and Chloe remained on their bench, reluctant to break the spell of the moment. Chloe's breathing had deepened, and Elena realized her daughter had dozed off, secure and content in her mother's embrace. Carefully, so as not to wake her, Elena gathered Chloe in her arms and stood. As she carried her sleeping daughter home, she felt a profound sense of purpose and hope. Whatever the future held, they would face it together, stronger for the trials they had overcome. The streetlights flickered on, illuminating their path home. Elena walked slowly, savoring the weight of her daughter in her arms, the trust implicit in Chloe's peaceful sleep. With each step, she felt the last vestiges of guilt and self-doubt fall away, replaced by a quiet determination. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new joys, new opportunities for growth. But for now, in this perfect moment, all was right in their world. Mother and daughter, united by love, moving forward together into whatever life had in store. As Elena reached their front door, she paused for a moment, looking up at the stars just beginning to twinkle in the darkening sky. She made a wish, not for herself, but for Chloe, a wish for health, for happiness, for a life filled with love and learning. Then, with a soft smile, she carried her precious cargo inside, ready to face whatever the new day might bring. Continuity of the last paragraph. As the first rays of dawn crept through the curtains, painting the room in a soft, golden hue, Elena stirred from her slumber. For a moment, she lay still, savoring the peaceful quiet of the early morning. The events of the previous day flooded back to her. The sunset in the park, Chloe's wise words, the feeling of renewal that had washed over her as she tucked her daughter into bed. With a gentle stretch, Elena rose, her bare feet sinking into the plush carpet. She padded quietly to Chloe's room, easing the door open with practiced care. There, bathed in the warm morning light, lay her daughter, still lost in dreams. Elena's heart swelled with love as she watched the gentle rise and fall of Chloe's chest, her golden curls splayed across the pillow like a halo. For a moment, Elena was transported back in time. She remembered countless mornings like this one, when Chloe was just a baby. How many times had she stood in this very spot, marveling at the miracle of her child? The memory of those early days, tinged with both joy and the overwhelming fear of new motherhood, brought a bittersweet smile to her face. They had come so far since then, through sleepless nights and skinned knees, through laughter and tears, through mistakes and triumphs, and now, even after their most challenging ordeal, here they were, stronger, wiser, more connected than ever before. As if sensing her mother's presence, Chloe began to stir. Her eyelids fluttered open, revealing those bright green eyes that never failed to melt Elena's heart. "Good morning, sweetheart," Elena whispered, moving to sit on the edge of the bed. Chloe's sleepy smile was like the sun breaking through clouds. "Morning, Mom," she mumbled, reaching out for a hug. Elena gathered her daughter in her arms, breathing in the familiar scent of her hair, feeling the warmth of her small body against her own. "Did you sleep well?" Elena asked, running her fingers through Chloe's tangled curls. Chloe nodded against her mother's shoulder. "I had a good dream," she said, her voice still thick with sleep. "We were flying, you and me, like superheroes." Elena chuckled softly. "Flying, huh? That sounds amazing. Where did we go?" Chloe pulled back, her eyes sparkling with excitement as she recounted her dream. "Everywhere. We flew over the ocean, and then to the mountains, and then to a big city with tall buildings. And the whole time, we were holding hands, so we wouldn't lose each other." The innocence and beauty of Chloe's dream brought tears to Elena's eyes. Even in sleep, it seemed, their bond remained unbreakable. "That sounds wonderful, sweetie," she said, her voice catching slightly. "I'm glad we were together." Chloe tilted her head, studying her mother's face with a perceptiveness that sometimes startled Elena. "Are you okay, Mom? You look like you might cry." Elena smiled, touched by her daughter's concern. "I'm more than okay, Chloe. I'm just so happy to be here with you. Sometimes, happiness can make you cry too, you know." Chloe considered this for a moment, then nodded solemnly. "I think I understand," she said. Then, with the lightning-quick mood changes of childhood, her face brightened. "Can we have pancakes for breakfast?" Elena laughed, the sound ringing out in the quiet morning air. "Pancakes sound perfect," she agreed, standing up and offering her hand to Chloe. "Come on, Chef Chloe. Let's go make some morning magic in the kitchen." As they made their way downstairs, hand in hand, Elena felt a profound sense of contentment wash over her. Yes, there would be more challenges ahead. Yes, there would be days when being a mother felt overwhelming, when the weight of responsibility pressed heavily on her shoulders. But there would also be moments like this, simple, perfect moments of connection and joy. In the kitchen, sunlight streamed through the windows as Elena and Chloe moved about, gathering ingredients and mixing batter. They worked together seamlessly, a well-practiced dance of measuring, stirring, and occasional playful flour flicking. The room filled with the warm, sweet scent of cooking pancakes and the sound of shared laughter. As Elena watched Chloe carefully flipping a pancake, her tongue poking out in concentration, she was struck by how much her daughter had grown, not just physically, but in spirit and character. The trials they had faced together had not broken Chloe, but had instead revealed a strength and resilience that filled Elena with pride. "Hey, Mom," Chloe said, breaking into Elena's thoughts. "Remember when you used to tell me that story about the little star that was afraid to shine?" Elena nodded, surprised and touched that Chloe remembered the old bedtime tale. "I do, sweetie. Why do you ask?" Chloe carefully slid the perfectly golden pancake onto a plate before answering. "I was just thinking. I think I understand it better now. The star was afraid because it didn't know how strong it was, right? But when it finally decided to shine, it lit up the whole sky." Elena felt her heart swell with emotion. "That's right, Chloe. That's exactly right." "Well," Chloe continued, her gaze steady on her mother's face, "I think we're like that star, you and me. We didn't know how strong we were until we had to be. But now we do, and we can light up the whole sky together." For a moment, Elena couldn't speak past the lump in her throat. She marveled at the wisdom coming from her young daughter, at the depth of understanding Chloe had gained from their shared experience. Finally, she managed to find her voice. "You're absolutely right, my brave, brilliant girl. We can indeed light up the whole sky together." As they sat down to enjoy their breakfast, the kitchen bathed in warm sunlight and the sweet aroma of syrup, Elena felt a profound sense of hope for the future. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever storms they might have to weather, she knew that she and Chloe would face them as they had faced everything else, together, hand in hand, lighting up the sky with the strength of their love and resilience. And so, as they shared pancakes and giggles, plans for the day and dreams for the future, Elena silently renewed her commitment to this extraordinary journey of motherhood. With every smile, every shared joke, every small moment of connection, she felt the bond between them growing stronger, more unbreakable. In the grand tapestry of life, their story was just one thread. But oh, what a bright and beautiful thread it was, woven with love, strengthened by adversity, and shining with the promise of all the adventures yet to come. As the morning wore on, the kitchen cleaned and the last traces of syrup wiped from sticky fingers, Elena found herself drawn to the calendar hanging on the wall, her eyes fixed on the date circled in red, Chloe's upcoming checkup with Dr. Alvarez. It was a stark reminder of their journey, a pinpoint in time that seemed to hold so much weight. "What are you looking at, Mom?" Chloe's voice broke through Elena's reverie. She turned to find her daughter standing beside her, green eyes wide with curiosity. Elena smiled softly, running her fingers through Chloe's curls. "Just checking the date for your doctor's appointment next week, sweetie." A flicker of uncertainty passed over Chloe's face, quickly replaced by a determined set of her jaw. "Oh, right. With Dr. Alvarez?" She paused, then added with a bravery that made Elena's heart swell. "It's okay, Mom. I'm not scared this time." Elena knelt down, bringing herself eye level with her daughter. "You're not?" she asked gently, searching Chloe's face. Chloe shook her head, her curls bouncing with the movement. "Nope, because I know that no matter what happens, we're in this together. Right?" The lump that formed in Elena's throat threatened to choke her words, but she managed to whisper, "That's right, my brave girl. Always together." As they embraced, Elena marveled at the strength of her little star. How had Chloe grown so wise, so resilient? The answer, she realized, lay in the very trials they had faced. Like a sword forged in fire, their bond had been tested by adversity and emerged stronger, more unbreakable than ever. The rest of the day passed in a blur of ordinary moments, made extraordinary by the newfound appreciation Elena felt for each one. A trip to the park became an adventure, with Elena and Chloe imagining themselves as explorers discovering a new world. Homework time transformed into a giggly game of who could come up with the silliest mnemonics for spelling rules. As evening approached, they decided to have a picnic dinner in the backyard. Elena watched as Chloe carefully arranged their meal on the checkered blanket, her little face scrunched in concentration as she made sure everything was just so. The sight filled Elena with a warmth that had nothing to do with the setting sun painting the sky in hues of pink and gold. They ate their sandwiches and fruit, chatting about everything and nothing. Chloe regaled Elena with tales from school, the new girl in her class who had moved from Australia, the science project she was excited about, the book they were reading in English that she couldn't put down. As twilight deepened, bringing with it a chorus of crickets and the first twinkle of stars, Chloe lay back on the blanket, her eyes fixed on the darkening sky. Elena joined her, their shoulders touching as they gazed upward. "Mom," Chloe said softly, her voice barely above a whisper, "do you think the stars ever get scared?" Elena turned her head, studying her daughter's profile in the fading light. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" Chloe was quiet for a moment, seemingly gathering her thoughts. "Well, they're so far apart from each other, and space is so big and dark. Don't you think they might feel lonely sometimes, or afraid?" The question, so innocent yet so profound, caught Elena off guard. She took a deep breath, considering her answer carefully. "You know, Chloe, I think the stars might feel that way sometimes. But I also think they know something very important." "What's that?" Chloe asked. Her curiosity piqued. Elena reached out, taking Chloe's hand in hers. "They know that even though they seem far apart, they're all connected. They're part of something bigger. Galaxies, constellations, and together they light up the whole night sky." Chloe mulled this over, her small fingers intertwined with her mother's. "Like us?" she asked finally. Elena felt tears prick at her eyes, but they were tears of joy, of overwhelming love for this remarkable little person beside her. "Yes, my love, exactly like us. We might feel alone or scared sometimes, but we're always connected to each other, to our family, to all the people who love us. And together, we shine so bright." They lay there in comfortable silence for a while, watching as more stars appeared in the velvet sky. Elena found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought them to this moment. The fear, the guilt, the sleepless nights, they all seemed to fade in the face of this perfect, peaceful evening. She thought about the checkup looming on the horizon. There was still a flutter of anxiety in her stomach when she considered it, but it no longer held the power to overwhelm her. Whatever the outcome, she and Chloe would face it together, drawing strength from each other just as they always had. As the night air grew cooler, Elena reluctantly suggested they head inside. They gathered up the remnants of their picnic, shaking out the blanket and folding it with playful efficiency. Hand in hand, they made their way back to the house, leaving behind the twinkling stars but carrying their light within their hearts. Inside, as they went through their bedtime routine, teeth brushing punctuated by foamy grins in the mirror, stories read in funny voices, one last glass of water negotiated, Elena felt a deep sense of contentment settle over her. This was what it was all about, she realized. Not perfection, not flawless parenting, but love. Pure, unconditional, ever-growing love. As she tucked Chloe into bed, Elena placed a gentle kiss on her daughter's forehead. "Sweet dreams, my little star," she whispered. Chloe's sleepy voice floated up from the pillow. "Good night, Mom. I love you to the stars and back." "And I love you to infinity and beyond," Elena replied, their nightly ritual bringing a smile to both their faces. Closing Chloe's door softly behind her, Elena paused in the hallway, overcome by a wave of emotion. They had come so far, grown so much, and yet, in many ways, they were just at the beginning of their journey together. As she made her way to her own room, Elena's mind drifted to the future stretching out before them. There would be more challenges, more moments of doubt and fear, but there would also be joy, laughter, and love. So much love. She climbed into bed, her heart full and her spirit peaceful. Whatever tomorrow might bring, Elena knew that she and Chloe would face it as they had faced everything else. Together, hand in hand, two stars shining brightly in the vast universe of life. And with that comforting thought, Elena closed her eyes, drifting off to sleep with a smile on her face and hope in her heart. The days leading up to Chloe's checkup with Dr. Alvarez seemed to pass in a blur of ordinary moments, tinged with an undercurrent of anticipation. Elena found herself hyper-aware of every laugh, every frown, every small gesture from her daughter, cataloging them in her mind as if they were precious artifacts to be preserved. On the morning of the appointment, Elena woke before her alarm, her heart already racing with a mixture of hope and anxiety. She lay in bed for a few moments, taking deep breaths to center herself. "Whatever happens," she whispered into the dim light of dawn, "we'll face it together." As she padded down the hallway to wake Chloe, Elena was surprised to find her daughter's bedroom door already open. The sound of quiet humming drifted out, a melody Elena recognized as Chloe's favorite lullaby, the one Elena had sung to her countless times over the years. Peering into the room, Elena's breath caught in her throat. There was Chloe, sitting cross-legged on her bed, carefully braiding her own hair. The sight was at once ordinary and extraordinary, a small act of independence that spoke volumes about her daughter's growth. "Good morning, sweetheart," Elena said softly, not wanting to startle her. Chloe looked up, her face breaking into a bright smile. "Morning, Mom. Look, I'm doing my own hair for the doctor's appointment." Elena moved to sit beside her on the bed, running a gentle hand over Chloe's slightly uneven braid. "It's beautiful, honey. When did you learn to do this?" Chloe's cheeks flushed with pride. "I've been practicing. I wanted to surprise you." The lump that formed in Elena's throat threatened to overwhelm her. In that moment, she saw not just the little girl who needed her, but glimpses of the strong, independent woman Chloe was becoming. "Well, consider me thoroughly surprised and impressed," she managed to say, pulling Chloe into a tight hug. As they got ready for the day, Elena marveled at the calm demeanor Chloe displayed. There were no tears, no pleas to stay home. Instead, Chloe chatted animatedly about a book she was reading, pausing only to ask if they could stop for ice cream after the appointment. To celebrate being brave, she explained with a wink that made Elena's heart swell. The drive to Dr. Alvarez's office was filled with the kind of comfortable silence that can only exist between two people wholly at ease with each other. Elena found herself stealing glances at Chloe, who sat in the passenger seat, her gaze fixed on the passing scenery. The morning sun caught in her curls, creating a halo effect that reminded Elena of Renaissance paintings of angels. As they pulled into the parking lot, Elena felt a familiar flutter of anxiety in her stomach. But before she could dwell on it, she felt a small hand slip into hers. She looked down to see Chloe smiling up at her, green eyes filled with a mixture of trust and determination. Ready, Mom? Chloe asked, giving Elena's hand a squeeze. Elena marveled at their role reversal. Here was her daughter, offering comfort and strength. Ready as I'll ever be, my brave girl, she replied, returning the squeeze. The waiting room was quiet, save for the soft classical music playing in the background and the occasional rustle of magazine pages. Elena and Chloe sat side by side, their hands still linked, a physical manifestation of their unbreakable bond. When Dr. Alvarez called them in, Elena felt a momentary urge to scoop Chloe up and run, to protect her from whatever news might come. But Chloe's steady presence beside her grounded her, reminding her of the strength they had found together. The examination seemed to stretch on for hours, though Elena knew rationally it couldn't have been more than 30 minutes. Dr. Alvarez was thorough, her gentle hands and kind voice a balm to both mother and daughter's nerves. Finally, the doctor sat back, a smile breaking across her face. Well, she said, her voice warm with genuine pleasure, I have good news. Chloe's body has responded remarkably well to the treatment. All her levels are back within normal range for her age. The words washed over Elena like a wave, leaving her breathless with relief. She looked at Chloe, who was beaming with pride, and felt tears of joy well up in her eyes. You did it, sweetheart, Elena whispered, pulling Chloe into a tight embrace. You're so strong, so brave. Chloe hugged her back fiercely. We did it, Mom, she corrected. Together. As they left the office, stepping out into the bright sunlight of a world that suddenly seemed full of possibility, Elena felt as though a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. The fear and guilt that had been her constant companions for so long began to dissipate, replaced by a profound sense of gratitude and hope. True to her promise, Elena drove them to the local ice cream parlor. As they sat at a small table, Chloe happily devouring a sundae almost as big as her head, Elena found herself marveling at the journey they had undertaken. They had faced a storm together, weathered it with grace and courage, and come out stronger on the other side. The bond between them, always strong, had been tempered by adversity into something unbreakable. Hey, Mom, Chloe said, breaking into Elena's thoughts. Her face was smeared with chocolate sauce, her eyes sparkling with mischief and joy. Remember when you said we were like stars? Elena nodded, curious where Chloe was going with this. Well, Chloe continued, her voice taking on a tone of profound wisdom that seemed beyond her years. I think we're more like a constellation now. You know, a group of stars that make a picture together. We're still our own stars, but we're also part of something bigger and more beautiful. Elena felt her heart swell with love and pride. Oh, Chloe, she said, reaching across the table to wipe a smudge of ice cream from her daughter's chin. That's perfect. We are a constellation, you and I. As they finished their ice cream and headed home, Elena found herself filled with a sense of peace she hadn't felt in months. Yes, there would be more challenges ahead. The journey of motherhood was far from over, but she knew now, with a certainty that ran bone deep, that she and Chloe could face anything life threw at them. They were a constellation, after all, 2 stars, shining brightly on their own, but creating something truly magical when they came together. And in the vast, sometimes frightening expanse of life, they would continue to light each other's way, guiding each other home no matter how dark the night might seem. As they pulled into their driveway, the setting sun painting the sky in breathtaking shades of pink and gold, Elena made a silent vow. She would cherish every moment, every challenge, every triumph. For in the end, it was these moments, the laughter, the tears, the simple joy of being together, that made up the masterpiece of their shared life. As the weeks turned into months, Elena and Chloe settled into a new rhythm, one marked by a deeper appreciation for each moment they shared. The fear and uncertainty that had once clouded their days gradually faded, replaced by a quiet confidence in their ability to face whatever life might bring. One crisp autumn afternoon, as golden leaves danced on the breeze outside their window, Elena found herself sitting at the kitchen table, surrounded by a sea of colorful paper and glitter. Chloe had burst through the door after school, eyes shining with excitement, clutching a flyer for the upcoming school science fair. "Mom, can we do a project together?" Chloe had asked, her voice breathless with anticipation. "I want to do something really special this year." Now, as they brainstormed ideas, Elena marveled at the change in her daughter. Gone was the timid girl who had once shied away from attention. In her place was a confident young scientist, eagerly explaining her ideas about solar systems and gravity. "What if," Chloe said, her brow furrowed in concentration, "we made a model of our own constellation? You know, the one we talked about at the ice cream shop." Elena felt a surge of pride and love. "That's a wonderful idea, sweetheart. But how would we make it scientific?" Chloe's face lit up with inspiration. "We could show how real constellations are formed, and talk about how ancient people use them for navigation and storytelling. It could be about science and us." As they worked on the project over the next few weeks, Elena found herself learning alongside Chloe. They pored over astronomy books, watched documentaries about the cosmos, and spent evenings in the backyard with a telescope, mapping out the night sky. The dining room table became their own private universe, covered in papier-mâché planets, twinkling LED stars, and meticulously painted constellations. But at the center of it all was a special display: 2 shining stars, connected by a golden thread, forming a constellation of their own. "That's us," Chloe had said softly as they put the finishing touches on their creation. "You and me, Mom. Our own constellation." On the night of the science fair, Elena stood back and watched as Chloe confidently explained their project to the judges. Her daughter's voice was clear and strong, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm as she pointed out the various elements of their cosmic display. "And this," Chloe said, gesturing to the central constellation, "is the most important part. It's called Mater et Filia. That's Latin for mother and daughter. It shows how 2 stars can form their own constellation, supporting and guiding each other through the vastness of space." As the judges nodded approvingly, jotting notes on their clipboards, Elena felt a lump form in her throat. She thought back to the scared, uncertain mother she had been just a year ago, drowning in guilt and fear. How far they had come since then, how much they had grown, both individually and together. Later that evening, as they hung Chloe's first-place ribbon on the refrigerator, Elena pulled her daughter into a tight hug. "I'm so proud of you, my little star," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Chloe hugged her back fiercely. "I'm proud of us, Mom," she replied. "We make a pretty great team, don't we?" As they stood there in the warm glow of the kitchen light, their reflection visible in the window, mother and daughter, so alike yet unique, bound by an unbreakable bond of love, Elena felt a profound sense of peace wash over her. Yes, there would be more challenges ahead. The journey of motherhood was far from over, and life had a way of throwing unexpected curveballs. But Elena knew now, with a certainty that ran soul deep, that she and Chloe could weather any storm, navigate any darkness, for they were more than just mother and daughter. They were a constellation, 2 bright stars shining in the vast expanse of the universe, guiding each other home no matter how dark the night might seem. As they prepared for bed that night, Elena paused in the doorway of Chloe's room, watching as her daughter carefully placed her science fair ribbon on the bookshelf. The sight brought a smile to her face and a warmth to her heart that had nothing to do with the cozy sweater she wore. "Hey, Chloe," she said softly. "How about we do something special this weekend to celebrate your big win?" Chloe's face lit up with excitement. "Can we go to the planetarium? I want to see the real constellations up close." Elena chuckled, unsurprised by the request. "The planetarium it is," she agreed. "And maybe we can stop by that little Italian restaurant you love on the way home. How does that sound?" "Perfect," Chloe exclaimed, bouncing on her toes with anticipation. Then her expression softened, and she added, "You know, Mom, I'm really glad we did this project together. It made me realize something." "Oh," Elena raised an eyebrow, intrigued. What's that, sweetheart? Chloe's green eyes met her mother's, filled with a wisdom that seemed far beyond her years. That even though what happened with the medicine mix-up was scary, it also made us stronger. Like how stars are born from cosmic dust and gas coming together under pressure. We went through something hard, but it turned us into something beautiful. Elena felt her heart swell with love and pride. She crossed the room in 2 quick strides, enveloping Chloe in a tight embrace. "Oh, my brilliant girl," she murmured, her voice thick with emotion. "You are absolutely right. We are stronger and more beautiful because of what we've been through together." As they stood there, locked in their embrace, Elena felt a profound sense of gratitude wash over her. Gratitude for the challenges they had faced and overcome. Gratitude for the bond that had been forged in the fires of adversity. And most of all, gratitude for this remarkable little person in her arms, who continually amazed her with her resilience, her wisdom, and her boundless capacity for love. In that moment, Elena knew with absolute certainty that no matter what the future might hold, she and Chloe would face it together. They were a team, a constellation, 2 stars bound by an unbreakable thread of love and understanding. And as long as they had each other, they would always find their way home. The weekend arrived with a crisp autumn breeze and a sky so vividly blue it seemed to have been painted by an artist's hand. Elena and Chloe set out early for their day of celebration, the car filled with excited chatter and the promise of adventure. As they approached the planetarium, its massive dome gleaming in the morning sun, Elena couldn't help but reflect on how far they had come. Just a year ago, the thought of such an outing would have filled her with anxiety, her mind constantly on alert for potential dangers. Now, she felt only a sense of joyful anticipation, mirrored in Chloe's beaming face beside her. Inside the planetarium, they found themselves enveloped in a world of wonder. The vast domed ceiling transformed into a tapestry of stars, planets, and swirling galaxies. Elena watched, her heart full, as Chloe's eyes widened in awe, her face bathed in the soft glow of 1,000 projected stars. As the narrator's voice filled the room, describing the birth of stars and the formation of constellations, Elena felt Chloe's small hand slip into hers. She gave it a gentle squeeze, a silent communication of shared amazement and love. Mom," Chloe whispered, her eyes still fixed on the celestial display above. "Do you think our constellation is up there somewhere?" Elena smiled in the darkness, her throat tight with emotion. "I'm sure it is, sweetheart. Maybe not visible to everyone, but it's there, shining bright." As they exited the planetarium, blinking in the bright sunlight, Chloe was bubbling with excitement and questions. "Did you see how the stars moved, Mom? And those nebulas? They were so colorful. Can we get a telescope? I want to see it all for real." Elena laughed, her heart light with joy. "We'll see about that telescope. For now, how about we head to lunch? I don't know about you, but all that stargazing has made me hungry." At the little Italian restaurant, tucked away on a quaint street corner, they settled into a cozy booth. The air was rich with the aroma of garlic and tomato sauce, and the warm glow of candlelight danced across their table. As they perused the menu, Elena found herself struck by how grown-up Chloe suddenly looked, her brow furrowed in concentration as she carefully read through the options. "You know," Elena said, setting down her menu, "I'm really proud of you, Chloe. Not just for the science fair, but for everything. You've been so brave and strong through all we've been through." Chloe looked up, her green eyes serious. "I'm proud of you too, Mom. You've been brave and strong too. We both have." Elena felt tears prick at her eyes, but she blinked them back, smiling instead. "You're right. We make quite the team, don't we?" As their meal progressed, their conversation flowed easily from topic to topic, from the wonders they'd seen at the planetarium to Chloe's ideas for future science projects, from funny stories about school to dreams of future adventures they might share. Elena found herself marveling at the young woman her daughter was becoming, curious, compassionate, and wise beyond her years. As they were finishing their dessert, a shared slice of tiramisu that Chloe insisted was almost as good as the stars. Chloe suddenly grew quiet, her fork tracing patterns in the remaining cream on her plate. "What's on your mind, sweetheart?" Elena asked gently, recognizing the look of deep thought on her daughter's face. Chloe was silent for a moment longer, then looked up, her eyes meeting Elena's. "Mom, do you ever wonder what would have happened if the medicine mix-up hadn't happened?" Elena felt her breath catch in her throat. They hadn't spoken directly about the incident in months. "Sometimes," she admitted softly. "Why do you ask?" Chloe bit her lip, choosing her words carefully. "I was just thinking. It was scary, and I didn't like feeling sick. But I think it made us closer. Like, we understand each other better now." "Is that weird?" Elena reached across the table, taking Chloe's small hand in hers. "No, sweetie, that's not weird at all. I think you're absolutely right. Sometimes, the hardest things we go through can bring us closer together, make us stronger." Chloe nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "Like how pressure makes diamonds." Elena laughed softly, marveling once again at her daughter's insight. "Exactly like that. We went through something hard, but it made our bond even stronger and more precious." As they left the restaurant, stepping out into the golden light of late afternoon, Elena felt a profound sense of peace settle over her. They had faced their challenges, weathered their storms, and come out the other side not just intact, but stronger, closer, more resilient. Walking hand in hand down the sidewalk, their steps in perfect sync, Elena realized that this moment, this bond, this love, was the true constellation they had created together. It wasn't visible in the night sky, couldn't be mapped by astronomers or charted in scientific journals, but it was there, shining brightly in every shared laugh, every comforting hug, every moment of understanding that passed between them. As they reached the car, Chloe turned to Elena, her face alight with a mixture of love and mischief. "Hey, Mom, want to make a wish on the first star we see tonight?" Elena smiled, pulling her daughter close. "Absolutely. But you know what? I think my biggest wish has already come true." "What's that?" Chloe asked, tilting her head curiously. Elena pressed a kiss to the top of Chloe's head, breathing in the familiar scent of her hair. Us, our own little constellation, shining bright no matter what." As they drove home, the sky slowly darkening to a deep velvet blue, Elena felt a sense of excitement for the future. There would be more challenges ahead, more moments of doubt and fear. But there would also be joy, laughter, and love, so much love. And through it all, she and Chloe would face it together. Two stars intertwined, their light guiding each other through whatever darkness might come. For they were more than mother and daughter. They were a constellation of their own making, their bond unbreakable, their love eternal. As the first star of the evening winked into existence above them, Elena made a silent wish, not for herself, but for Chloe. A wish for a life filled with wonder, with courage, with love. A wish for her daughter to always know, no matter where life might take her, that she was part of something beautiful and unbreakable, their own special constellation shining bright in the vast universe of life.